कि कल भारत रत्न एवं स्वर कोकिला सुश्री लता मंगेशकर जी अपने पार्थिव शरीर से तो हम सबको छोड़ दी हैं, हमारे बीच में नहीं है, लेकिन संगीत जगत के इतिहास में चाहे राष्ट्र हो चाहे विश्व पटल पर उनका नाम हमेशा ही स्वर्णिम अक्षरों से लिखा जाएगा। हम सभी के अंतः पटल पर, हमें के मन मस्तिष्क पे उनकी आवाज हमेशा ही छाई रहेगी। मैं ऐसी महान विभूति को उनके ही 2 लाइंस गा के, उनके ही भजनों की 2 पंक्तियों उनको समर्पित करके अपने विभाग की ओर से अपनी श्रद्धांजलि अवश्य अर्पित करना चाहूंगी। ओ पालनहारी निर्गुण तेरे बिन हमरा कोई नहीं, ये कैसी उलझन सुलझाओ भगवन, तेरे बिन हमरा कोई नहीं। संगीत जगत की इस अक्षुण्ण क्षति में भगवान हम सभी को ये क्षति सहन करने की शक्ति प्रदान करें, क्योंकि उनके जाने से अवश्य ही ये उलझन ये जरूर बनी हुई है। आइए इसके पहले कि हम अपने कार्यक्रम का शुभारंभ करें, हम सभी लोग मिलकर 2 मिनट का मौन रखकर उनके प्रति अपना श्रद्धा सुमन अर्पित करें और इस पूरे कार्यक्रम को हम उनको भावभीनी श्रद्धांजलि के साथ समर्पित कर सके। 2 मिनट का मौन सुश्री लता मंगेशकर जी के लिए। कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए लखनऊ विश्वविद्यालय अपनी अकादमिक परिष्कृता से पहले अपनी परंपराओं और अपनी संस्कृति के निर्वहन के लिए जाना जाता है। आइए उसी परंपरा का निर्वहन करते हुए हम अपने उद्घाटन सत्र का शुभ आरंभ दीप प्रज्वलन के माध्यम से करें। मैं यहाँ पर उपस्थित तमाम अपने विशिष्ट अतिथियों से निवेदन करती हूँ कि वे बटन प्रेस करके दीप प्रज्वलन करने की कृपा करें। दीप प्रज्वलन।
सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति।
So now, after the auspicious lighting of the lamp, we now formally begin with our inaugural session of our 2-day international seminar that is on the rural industrialization, an effective channel for economic progress in Uttar Pradesh. And it has been conducted under the auspices of the Center of Excellence, which has been granted by Uttar Pradesh government, and that the whole of the seminar is being conducted under the ablest guidance and the patronage of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Alok Kumar Rai ji. And now, as I can see that I said that more and more of our guests have been connected to us from various countries and from various states, as I said, and even now I can see, मैं सबका नाम शायद अगर जितना मैं देख पा रही हूँ, हमारे संग संजय मेधावी सर, M.K. अग्रवाल सर जुड़ चुके हैं, हमारे संग DSW मैडम पूनम टंडन जी, वन ऑफ माय फेवरेट, वो जुड़ चुकी हैं, निशी मैम, आदरणीय निशी मैम, फॉर्मर DSW, फॉर्मर डायरेक्टर HRDC, वो हमसे जुड़ चुकी हैं, और अभी बहुत सारे हमारे सहयोगी गण और अन्य संकाय अध्यक्ष गण सब हमसे जुड़ रहे हैं। तो जाहिर सी बात है, हम अपने अतिथियों का स्वागत करने के लिए एवं अपने सेमिनार का थीम प्रेजेंट करने के लिए आई रिक्वेस्ट our head of the department and also the convener of the seminar, Professor Rachana Mujju ma'am, to kindly present her formal welcome address, and at the same time, please do let us know something about the theme of the seminar. Professor Rachana Mujju.
Sure, I guess the link is here.
Wow. Okay, thank you very much. I think we will get started. I'm sorry for connecting late. You can hear me? Yes.
Sir, so kind of you to be here. Right now, our head, Professor Rachana Mujju ma'am, welcome you formally, and we'll be coming to you very soon. Thank you so much for connecting to us, sir. Presently, Professor Rachana Mujju for her formal address and the seminar, the theme of the seminar.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. As you have already heard that the theme of the seminar is rural industrialization, an effective channel for economic progress in Uttar Pradesh. Rural industrialization, as all of us know, is a very powerful instrument of rural development, and we can define it as the diversification of the rural economy through the introduction and promotion of micro and small scale industries. Diversification is made possible through the creation of large employment opportunities and also concomitant income flow which comes out of it. The recent budget of India, which was presented in 1st of February, the budget envisaged a vision, it reiterated the vision of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi of making India a $5 trillion economy. But making India a $5 trillion economy cannot be achieved, neither can it be sustained until and unless we have a proper regional growth convergence. That is, that all the regions do not develop simultaneously. Till then, it is very difficult to do it. As all of us know that India is basically a rural economy, it lives in villages. According to the recent census, approximately 68% of the people in India live in villages. They live in rural areas. And as per the census of India 2011, although the data are old and the new census is yet not, published. So we are relying on this data only. It says that 53% of our main workers are still engaged in agriculture as against a meager 11% in the manufacturing sector. And if we talk of rural manufacturing, only 6% of the people are engaged in manufacturing sector in the rural areas, in the manufacturing sector. Uttar Pradesh, as all of us know, is the most populous state. It has almost 17% of the population of India. Also lives in villages. Automatically, it is obvious, 75% of the people in Uttar Pradesh live in rural areas. Now, using the same census data, approximately 74% of the marginal workers are engaged in agriculture. So the share of manufacturing is very low in Uttar Pradesh. Resultantly, as a result of large employment here and the value added is not large, the productivity from agriculture is very low. And as a result of this, the income flow from it also is very low. In such a scenario, rural industrialization seems to be panacea of all the ailments of the rural economy. We all know that agriculture is an activity which is subject to diminishing returns owing to the fixity of land, and it is not able to provide the employment opportunities to ever-growing labor force. So as a result of this, and as on basis of the National Sample Survey Organization data, we have witnessed in India the much awaited and much desirable Lewisian shift in employment towards other non-agricultural activities. It is discernible since 2004, 2005, and it continued at a fast pace till 2011-12, showing a decline thereafter, which means that there has been a negative growth in agricultural employment. If I can quote the data from NSS, the CAGR in agricultural employment during 2004-5 to 2009-10 has been minus 1.63. From 2009-10 to 2011-12, it has been minus 3.31. From 2011-12 to 2017-18, it has been minus 1.84. So what has happened is that the Lewisian shift, that is the shift from agriculture to the other activities, non-agricultural activities, has taken place, has started since 2004-5. It has continued at a fast pace to 2011-12, but then it has witnessed a decline thereafter. Now, the recent periodic labor force survey of 2019-20 also has reported a reverse migration, meaning that the people have migrated back from the urban areas to the rural areas. This also we call the back migration. So this trend does not augur well for an economy which is aspiring for a speedier structural transformation. Another thing which is happening apart from rural areas also, in urban areas also, the unemployment rates are very high. So to check these unemployment rates, the pressure of rural internal migration has to be arrested. If we quote the data again from the census, it reveals that approximately 450 million internal migrants based on the place of last residence are the migrants in India. This is 37% of the total population. From the development of the rural economy, the problems of urban congestion and effective utilization of scarce urban resources can take place. There is one more issue why rural industrialization is needed, is that we have large youth population. The population between the productive age group of 15 to 59, that is what the census says, it can be 60, it can be 65 also, is approximately 60%. And our youth population, that is the population between the age group of 15 to 34, is 35%. This we call demographic dividend. If the demographic dividend is to be utilized, then the opportunity structure has to be created. And opportunity structure can be created by providing huge employment opportunities. Uttar Pradesh almost replicates the figures. Uttar Pradesh also has got a huge young population. Now, the experiences of some Asian countries, some developed Asian countries like Japan and China, have shown that you cannot have a sustained growth. That is, that you cannot have the long-term growth until and unless your small-scale sector develops properly. Recent employment evidence that I was talking about from 2004-5 also shows that what has happened is that the labor has shifted from agriculture to the modern sector, but it has shifted mainly to construction sector and also to the traditional industrial sector, that is traditional manufacturing. The government of India has always realized the potential for this rural diversification through rural industrialization through the village and small scale industries, mainly in its various industrial policy resolutions and 5-year plans. These policies primarily aimed at promotional and protective measures for development of the small scale industries. Although there have been a number of changes, the protection has been reduced to a large extent. And in this line also, in 2006, a Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Act was passed for an effective integration of small and medium enterprises, and also aimed at facilitating in their increased competitiveness. The definition of MSMEs gets revised from time to time, and recently we had the new definition which was given by the government in 2020. I will not read out that definition. That definition is known to everyone. Now, these policy measures, however, were sadly not accompanied by commensurate investment. For example, in the second five-year plan, which had a whopping 24% share for the industrial sector in planned outlays, earmarked only 4% for village and small-scale industries. I'm talking about the second five-year plan, which totally concentrated on the industrial development. The share of the total industrial sector was 24%, but the share of village and small-scale industries was only 4%. And this has been the highest share across the plans. And Uttar Pradesh also had the highest share of 3.9% in the village and small-scale industries, small industries sector in the second five-year plan. Now, rural industries, as we said, are expected to bring in the rural diversification, but the rural industries can also cater to the urban demand, and it can also cater to the demand for exports, right? But these industries are facing a number of constraints. I have just summarized these into three constraints. First is the most important constraint is the demand constraint. Demand constraint is due to low earnings and low purchasing power, which arises out of the low agricultural productivity and low employment elasticity in high productivity sectors. Low employment elasticity in high productivity sectors. Then infrastructure, this is well known, inadequacy of social and economic infrastructure, whether it is roads, whether it is electricity, whether it is power, it has the cascading effect and it does not lead to the development of the rural industries. Social infrastructure, for example, your technical training institutes, your schools, since they are inadequate and inefficient, whatever is available is inefficient, this prevents the people in the rural areas for skill enhancement. They are not able to enhance their skill, and therefore they can work in the traditional industries only, earning subsistence wages. This also hinders the technical upgradation and upscaling of these traditional industries. Further, due to their small size, these industries face the problem of procuring the raw material at right time, at right cost, and financial constraints, and a number of constraints, right? So as a result of these constraints, the products of these industries tend to become incompetitive, and they are not able to face the challenges of the product with the products which are produced by the large-scale industries and also the imported products. I hope the deliberations of this seminar will provide an insight on these issues and also provide suggestive roadmap for the future. On behalf of the Department of Applied Economics and Center of Excellence, it is my proud privilege to welcome Professor Alok Kumar Rai, our patron and Honorable Chief Vice Chancellor, to this inaugural session. Sir is also presiding over this inaugural session. It is also a matter of great honor for us here to welcome Shri Manish Sinha, General Manager, Small Industries Development Bank of India, Sidbi, Lucknow, as the chief guest of this session. Sir, your practical inputs will be a good precursor to the deliberations taking place in various technical sessions. May I also take this opportunity to welcome our special guest, Professor Jeetle Natal, Faculty of Business and Law, Multimedia University in Kenya. We are greatly honored to have you with us, sir, today. I also welcome Dean, Faculty of Commerce, thanks, sir, for his continuous and constant motivation and encouragement always and also during the conduct of the seminar. Lastly, I welcome all other dignitaries, faculty members, students, and all other participants who are connected in this inaugural session. Once again, welcome to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the formal welcome and a very comprehensive presentation of theme, which really justify as to the need of this subject for this seminar. on this hour, when recently the union budget has been come up and that the union budget has been focusing so much on MSMEs. Ma'am has very elaborately placed the theme, justifying the need of the theme. At the same time, while we are welcoming you all, we feel that our love and affection should reach you, though it is an online seminar. But you see, the distances cannot be a hurdle in expressing our love and regard to you. And therefore, we will be presenting mementos to our dignitaries. And after the seminar, it will reach to their places. And for that, I will request our organizing secretary, Dr. Anoopji, to please come up and show up. You can see on Rachana ma'am's window that this is the beautiful memento that we have been very meticulously selecting for our guest. And I'll request Dr. Anup Kumar Singh to please provide the memento after the seminar to our dignitaries after the seminar is over, after the 2 days seminar is over. Thank you, Anup, for that. Now, we really are proud of the fact that the Uttar Pradesh government has given us the opportunity to have one center of excellence on our part. And it is being run in the Department of Applied Economics by one of our very able faculty member, Dr. A.K. Singh, Dr. Anup Kumar Singh ji. So what is this Center of Excellence and what is this seminar all about? I'll request Dr. A.K. Singh ji to please explain and put before us the Center of Excellence and the seminar as to what it is all about. Dr. A.K. Singh, the principal investigator of the Center of Excellence.
Thank you, ma'am. A very good morning to all present here, one and all present here in this inaugural session of 2 days international seminar, which is being conducted by us, Department of Applied Economics, University of Lucknow. First of all, I wish to extend a very warm welcome to our chief guest, all the dignitaries, delegates, Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, who will be joining shortly our session, all the delegates, my teachers, paper contributors, and students. A very detailed deliberation has been made by our head of the department, Professor Rachana Muju ma'am, about the theme of the seminar and project. But I wish to state here the certain things which are notable, that the Department of Applied Economics received the research project entitled Rural Industrialization and Socio-Economic Development in Uttar Pradesh under the Center of Excellence scheme of the UP government. It was sponsored by UP government. I'm working as principal investigator in this project, and we have appointed 2 research staff, namely Mr. Rajat Saxena and Mr. Akash Deep, in this project. And we have started this research work, and we are now engaged in collection of primary data from the selected districts of Uttar Pradesh. I would like to give the special thanks to the Higher Education Department, Uttar Pradesh, and especially our Honorable CM, Higher Education Minister, Professor Dinesh Sharma, sir, for his blessings, for his affectionate love, which is always we get from Sharma, sir. Now, and this seminar is being held under the aegis of this project only. Presently, there are 2 Center of Excellence projects and 2 research and development projects are being run in the department. I am the principal investigator of one of the project, and Professor Bimal Jaiswal ji, Dr. Karuna Singh Kanojia, and Dr. Nagin Maurya, they are the other principal investigators in different projects. I believe the outcomes of this project will definitely be very helpful in the policy making by the government, and it also fulfills the objectives of the government to upgrade the state of research in Uttar Pradesh. So we are very hopeful that we will be contributing through our research. Our results, our inputs will be very helpful for UP government. Besides this inaugural session, there are 5 more sessions, 4 technical sessions and 1 validity session. The first technical session would be just after this inaugural, and after lunch break, we will have a technical session on rural industrialization, opportunities and challenges. This session would be chaired by Professor R.S. Yadav, sir, former head applied economics department, former dean, secretary of commerce.
अरे वही कि मतलब आप कैसे मेरी अपनी कंपनी.
Former pro vice chancellor, University of Lucknow. He has been my guru. He has been very instrumental in the academic upgradation of Department of Applied Economics. On behalf of the Department of Applied Economics and Center of Excellence, I welcome sir. And I also welcome Professor D.R. Jat Saab from University of Rajasthan. He would be the co-chairperson in this session. The second section will be run parallel from 3 to 5 itself on the theme Dynamics of Socio-Economic Development of Uttar Pradesh. This session will be chaired by Professor J.B. Basampayan sir from our own department. He has been the Vice Chancellor of 3 universities, Chhatrapati Sahooji Maharaj University Kanpur, Bundelkhand University Jhansi, and UP RTOU, UP Rajesh Tandon Open University. Sir, it is our proud privilege for us to have you with us today in our own department, sir. May I also take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Sunita Bharatwal from Bhiwani, Haryana. She would be acting as co-chairperson in this session, second session. The third session would be on availability and adequacy of economic and social infrastructure in Uttar Pradesh. This session will be conducted tomorrow at 11 a.m. and it would be chaired by Professor Ruby Ojha. She is professor in SNDT Mumbai, SNDT Women University Mumbai, and she is also pro vice chancellor in this university right now. The session will be co-chaired by Professor Syam Jeevan Salunke from Jalgaon, Maharashtra, and the coordinator for this session would be Dr. Nagendra Kumar Maurya. A warm welcome to you, ma'am, at your own old alma mater. Are greatly honored to have you amidst us. Warm welcome to Professor Salunke as well, who is also my friend. The fourth session would be on industrial sector policy and its implication on industrial development. This session would be chaired by Professor Karunesh Saxena, the Vice Chancellor of Sangam University, Bhilwara, Rajasthan, and the session will be co-chaired by Dr. Jackson Mutua from Kenya. The coordinator of this session would be Dr. Geetika Kapoor from the Department of Commerce. We are indeed greatly honored to have Professor Saxena with us. It is also a matter of great pleasure to welcome Dr. J. Mathua. I once again welcome all the dignitaries, participants, and entire organization. And congratulations and all the best to the delegates who will present their research papers in the different technical sessions and make the wonderful deliberation in the seminar. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Anup Kumar Singh. And thank you for welcoming all the delegates also, one and all. Now, proceeding with the inaugural session proceedings, I feel so privileged to welcome one of our international delegates for his special lecture, Professor Jitle Nightingale. Sir, I beg your pardon if my pronunciation about the name is a bit moved.
It's okay, you are fine.
You need to guide us.
Yes.
Before I call you, I take so I'm honored to present a bit of about yourself. Professor Jitle Nightingale is a professor of management and leadership at Multimedia University of Kenya, Faculty of Business and Law. He teaches courses in leadership and financial management, gender and innovation management. He holds a BA degree in business administration and government, and also an MBA in management from MIU, Iowa, US, and a PhD in business management from Egerton University, that is Kenya. Professor Naitule has over 20 years of experience as business management and leadership gained through extensive consulting, facilitations, and teaching and research. Prior to his joining to Multimedia University, he was associate professor at the management and leadership at Strathmore University. And he also was lecturing on accounting and finance at Egerton University. Oh my God, so you have really a rich CV with you. He has also served the University of Virginia and advisory. He was in the advisory board. He sits in the advisory board of Environic Foundation International. Sir is the author of more than 25 papers on management and leadership, and has been publishing so many. If I keep on reading it out, the whole 2 days will be spent on this. So going forward, he has been a consultant for UNESCO, and he has been also wind block clusters to Angola, Lesotho, Namibia, South Africa, Swaziland. And he won the UNESCO UNEP MISA Award for innovation and application of ESD, Principle in Higher Education. He is the author of Principles and Practice of Financial Management, published in CUEA Press in 2011. So, sir, I'm so proud of inviting you at our university, at our department, and we take the privilege to invite you on behalf of our department to present your special lecture, Sir Jitle Mehte. Sir, the stage is all yours now.
Thank you very much, and it is my pleasure to join you this morning to talk about rural industrialization, which is an important topic really for us here, just as much as it is for India, because you know, in this country, 80% of us live in rural areas, and that's a very significant number. So why should we focus on rural industrialization? One, we need, as a people, to focus. I want to apologize for inability to upload the presentation here, but I will focus as much as possible. We need new sources of energy becoming an important input into the production process in this country and in the developing countries as our labor intensive to utilize, because we have excess labor. So the rural industries assist in absorbing that labor because they employ labor-intensive technologies, and then the output, the end result of that is increased standard of living and the development of new patterns of work, which differ significantly from what we are seeing in the West, and the new social patterns which evolve in order to avoid the trap of the class gap, and then, of course, naturally, the rural industrialization lead to urbanization eventually. So what do we see? What is the traditional economy? First, that's just as in India, in Kenya, Africa generally, is being dominated by what we basically call toil, subsistence, existence. That what you do is simply for the family. So there is nothing to sell. There is no surplus output, which is supposed to bring in revenue and therefore raise the income levels of the communities. So the result is people being generally food insecure. You would say that the preoccupation now is basically the Maslow, the lower of the Maslow hierarchy of needs, shelter, food, warmth if you like. And so what has happened is onset of rural industrialization, onset of cottage industries, then as many life masses here, created some degree of advancement. So you look at activity in the labor input against the output in the rural areas, the little cottages industries, and then expansion of human capital as a result of the availability of the opportunities. What have we seen in terms of the development for rural industrialization from the 1960s up to today? We have seen small textile industries sprang up in the countryside. And this has been very, very important. You have to know, I don't know if you understand from that level, that at one time, this country, Kenya, for example, it went heavily into importation of used clothes. We call them mitumba here in Ikot. That killed the local industries which were existing, but then there has been a positive result of that, because the local industries were mainly dominated by the Western capitalists. So that was killed by importation of used clothing, and that has led now to emergence of small textile industries. But there is a negative side to the small textile industries. They are being exploited by the merchants in the sense that the merchants will give what is called cut and paste basically clothing to small households who now have their own machines. Then because the pieces are cut specific, they pay them. They don't have control to the market. So the problem when it comes to labor is whether these people who work by the piece are employees or industrialists. They don't control the market. They are not employees. So this has led to some degree of exploitation, especially on the textile rural subsector. The other byproduct you see of rural industrialization, especially in Ethiopia, is the spinning of making woolen products, whether it's socks, clothing, and that's in Ethiopia, that industry, together with the small shoe making rural industries, have had a very, very big impact. So problem though is the rural workers, they are paid less than urban workers. And in addition to being paid less, they also work, do assignments for merchants in urban areas. And since they don't control the market and they are not employees, so you find that there is a very high level of exploitation taking place. The life in early years, or rather before the small cottage, emergence of small cottage industries, was heavily dependent on human capital. Still, it is heavily dependent on human capital. There has been very little movement from the intensive. You see, you can have, when we say human capital, of course, it's the indigenous transfer of knowledge to industrial production. And this utilizes very little of what you can call modern machinery. So it is still very much labor intensive in most of Africa. I've been to very many places in India, and I've seen the Indian efficiency and the fact that there is serious homegrown industries. So here there is, in rural areas, an infusion of technologies, which is modern technologies, and that technologies has really invented or prevented the local technology from emerging. And this is what I mean. In what we consider in the Western countries as an advantage to an emerging industry, because of lack of access, lack of accessibility, it becomes a big protection factor here. Problem is, whatever little that you are manufacturing ends up, it has no ability to borrow technology and then it expands. And that's has contributed to the stagnation of the industries. So the industry, main industries you are going to find in Kenya are agricultural based, value addition, because 80% of the population work in agriculture. After independence in 1963, the economy started growing, giving Kenyans confidence that they could produce more surplus in order now to increase wealth. What do surpluses do when we look at countries that are able to produce more than they consume? They export, and that brings in more capital, which is able now to expand further production and move the society a little bit forward. You remember what happened in Europe in the industrial transformation was the byproduct of massive changes in agriculture. So the fact that our rural industries are agricultural based is basically following that pattern of industrialization that preceded the industrial revolution in Europe. These dual changes created the greatest change in the world. The agrarian revolution coupled with the industrial revolution is that now happening in Africa. In our situation, we see the signs of it is happening. Our problem is basically leadership to move the rural production to upgrade it higher. Now leadership comes here to constrain rural industrialization because of corruption. In other words, locating these industries so that people can benefit from agglomeration externalities. So people can benefit from the fact that these businesses locate close together and feed into each other. So when, one of our biggest weaknesses is we have been unable to produce what is called transformational leaders. People able to invest, leaders able to invest their time and energy to transform the lives of others. We have more transactional leaders. So even when aid or external investors come in, they need to locate in a certain region which can uplift rural industrialization in that area. The government functionaries want to know what is it in it for me to allow that investment in that particular area. That is what we call transactional leadership. And that has been a big problem for rural industrialization in Kenya, and I would say Africa generally. So what has happened is in the 1990s, Kenya went into what was called rural focus for rural development. And resources were mobilized, invested in rural areas, which focus on this. These were government-generated resources. They mainly went into addition, value addition. From the last 10 years, we introduced new constitution, they have introduced devolution in the country. So now we have counties, equivalent of Indian states. Within these counties, now we see partnerships emerging with the international organizations that is now creating factories for fruit processing, factories for food processing, so that there is a value addition. It's no longer raw materials getting out of the regions, which we call counties, but now value-added commodities that can compete internationally with products from the other regions, other countries. And I can tell you this, India has been instrumental in solidifying and in investing heavily in rural industrialization in this country, because most of the Indian investments and the Kenya-Indian citizens are actually not located in cities the way people think. They are mainly in small rural areas, and therefore using their networks, international networks, that has been able to assist in basically creating the necessary industrial surplus, which can serve now even in the main cities. It's unfortunate you are not being able to see my presentation because I was not able to upload. But let's just go back to agriculture. and look at what the wealthy families now have done. We have our colonial history in Kenya, just like there was a colonial history in India. But in Kenya, this is what happens. The white land farms, in terms of agriculture, they were transferred to black Africans. And therefore, the people who were initially deprived of land as a means of production, during the colonial time, they are still deprived of the same today. We have never carried out the land reform. And without agrarian rural industries expanding and the ability of these people to use now land as a resource, it becomes a constraining factor for rural industrialization in Kenya and in most pre-colonial, post-colonial countries in Africa. What are these factors now fueling rural industrialization? There are factors that promote the demographic, has been an important factor here. Economics, in other words, when you talk about economics, is the ability, the purchasing power of the general population, because it has significantly increased over the years. It's becoming a big pool, and then technological, using the stable, using this ability to now deploy tools as opposed to simply purely human energy. Stable government. Fortunately, here we have had a stable government, I think, since independence, and that has greatly contributed to rural industrialization, mineral and business, what you call mineral and business classes. The class structure is not that pronounced, but it's slowly creeping in because of inability to basically maximize output and returns to most people in the population. So the class structure is increasing in this country, but we have had stable banking systems, including what we call now M-Pesa, that is now mobile money transfer, which has penetrated in the rural areas. So it has facilitated the commerce in the rural areas, and it has greatly helped to expand the space from banking and for rural industrialization. Inaccessibility, which some people think is a negative thing, it turns out is a big positive here. The fact that a small rural industry is located in an inaccessible area protects that small industry from competition. So you find that the small rural industries located in areas which are not accessible, they survive longer and thrive than the small industries located in accessible areas like marketplaces, near roads. You see, the normal developmental model for small businesses is that the businesses located in accessible areas develop faster. That is not true for this country. So protection from competition actually works in favor of small rural industries. Geography serves the same purpose as in accessibility and then agricultural stability. That we will say that we have had that. The biggest now advantage has been also population growth. Kenya population has been doubling every 10 years. At independence in 1963, the Kenya population was 6 million. It is now 47 million. It's been doubling every 10 years. The average growth rate in Kenya population has been 80%, and that means we have a huge market from which to tap. You see, it's not true what we say about population. Population does not undermine growth. Population gives you an opportunity for markets. So what you think you need is a population with the capacity to consume, with the purchasing power, and that can fuel industrial production. There's been capital inflows in this country from outside. We have investments driven by cooperative societies, which has been a serious necessity. Cooperative societies have been set up across the country by individuals, by groups, by local governments, and that has given the necessary capital input to rural, small rural industries in Kenya. I've had in this country a program of rural electrification that has enabled the small cottage industries to thrive, and it has been very, very extensive in both Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia, and Uganda. In the East African region, rural electrification has assisted the emergence of small rural industries. So, just to give an example, the way the industrialization moved in Europe, it actually didn't start with the rural industrialization. You remember the idea of the iron horse, the first stages of increased mobility. The first stage of what they call industrial revolution in England, which was driven by a demand for consumer goods in textiles. And the second, by transportation. So you can see the way the consumer goods in those small industrial cottages fed into production and led to the industrial revolution. Yes, you are not able to see some of these examples are put here, but generally, Kenya in particular, Africa in general, the biggest weakness for rural industrialization has been transactional leadership. You deal with the transactional leadership, you move into transformational leadership, you begin in the process of industrial takeoff in East African region and in Africa generally. Thank you very much and be blessed. I'm ready for questions.
Thank you so much, sir. And
Yes.
I could see that you have taken up a very comprehensive view of the entire subject. And I'm so glad to listen, and it really is going to add on to our knowledge. And that was very, very elaborate, that not only to India, that you have given a very comprehensive address, especially in Kenya, in particular, in Africa in general, and also at times where necessary, you have also addressed to the rural industrialization at Europe also. I was enlightened to know the transformation leadership, of course, your area, and the investment, the electricity, and the mobility point, and the transportation time. So everything in just a few minutes. That was very comprehensive. That was very elaborate. And I honor that the questions should come up. And I will really invite it. But since we are bounded up with the timing, so we'll proceed further. And let us see. If time allows, we'll also invite for the questions. But for now, thank you so much for your special lecture, sir. And thank you for joining us and making our seminar a real international seminar, with your address also, by telling us so much about various countries and connecting into industrialization. I once again express my gratitude for your so elaborate
Thank you. Thank you very much, and enjoy the seminar.
Yes.
And it was a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate the invitation. Thank you.
And now, thank you, sir. And now proceeding with the inaugural session, I could see, I was just going through the monitor, and I could see there, besides our dignitaries, which I have named earlier, we have some few more important dignitaries who has joined us. One is from Maharashtra, Professor Shyam Salanke. He will be the chairperson of our third session, and he's from Maharashtra. Welcome, sir. And we'll be meeting you in the third session, of course, but now having you here. We are also having our Dean CDC, Counseling Development, College Development Council, and presently the head of the Commerce, Professor Avdesh Kumarji, and also one of the eminent Professor Ram Milanji, ex-head of the Department of Commerce, has also joined us. Several others have also joined us. But now it's time for the deliberation of our honorable chief guest and the keynote speaker of the day, that is Manish Sinha ji. But before that, before I proceed, you see, everything in the seminar is made only for the thoughts, the research, something that new should come up, and that it should be recorded so that it can be immortal. Immortal in the sense that it can be recorded, and whenever it is important for our policymaker, it can be required. And furthermore, academic enhancement can be done through this. And therefore, we are coming up with a souvenir for this seminar. And I will request Dr. Nagendra that it should be shown on the screen, and all the dignitaries kindly press the button to release the souvenir. As you can see on the monitor, we are having a souvenir on rural industrialization, effective channel for economic progress in Uttar Pradesh. Let me tell you, this is the souvenir being made ready in the shortest possible period of time. And please go through that. There is a welcome note from the organizing secretary. And we are so honored. The department is so honored that we are blessed with the messages from our Honorable Chancellor as well as the Governor of Uttar Pradesh, Anandiben Patel, Madam. And then we also been, as always, we are very always backed very strongly. And in this seminar also, we have got the blessings of our Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, Professor Dinesh Sharma ji. Then the wishes and the blessings of the patron of the entire seminar, our head of the family of Lucknow University, our own patron of the seminar, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Alok Kumar Rai ji, and the spirit behind the entire seminar, our Dean, Professor R.K. Maheshwari ji. His blessings are and his best wishes are also here. We can see that from the convener's desk, she has given her message, her blessings, and you have very recently heard about the entire theme of the souvenir. And then we have the editorial page also. Coming next to that, the souvenir carries out the souvenir. You will find about Lucknow University and about Lucknow and University of Lucknow and the department. And at the same time, a small schedule is also being given in the souvenir. And then you will find the committees after the which has been very elaborately read out by Anup sir. Then we have the conference secretariat, we have the organizing committees, and then it is followed by the keynotes by our chief guest. And very soon there will be more and more of the articles and a plethora of abstracts being given from all over the states, from the country and from overseas. You will find a very rich thoughts, research papers in this souvenir. And I really, as an editor of the souvenir, express gratitude to all the contributors who really has worked hard and has really given some of a very, very important views of the subject. Please go through it and please refer to it. Thank you, Nagendra ji, for the souvenir presentation, and thank you all the dignitaries for releasing the souvenir. And now coming up to the keynote address, now coming up to our honorable chief guest, Shri Manish Sinha ji, who is the General Manager, Regional Office, SIDBI, Lucknow. And before I invite him, let me present a brief about him. Manish Sinha is a graduate in economics, a postgraduate in sociology from University of Delhi, a certified associate of the Indian Institute of Bankers. He has diversified exposure of over 20 years in policy formulation and corporate strategy, and building up the SME financing, infrastructure financing, venture capital, funds, and capacity building development initiatives, etc. And also the domain skills include risk management, project appraisal, and follow-up, and so on. I'm reading it out for the simple reason that rural industrialization, in fact, means these areas. He has also worked for the United National Industrial Development Organization, that is UNIDO, a head mutual credit guarantee MCG and component of UNIDO's and consolidated project for SME development in India. He was in charge of SIDBI's branch office at Chandigarh also. He was also the chief operating officer of the Receivable Exchange of India Limited. We all know it by the name of RXIL. And then also he's the India's first trades, TREDS platform, and a joint venture between SIDBI and National Stock Exchange. He has also handled the responsibility of Chief Risk Officer of SIDBI and the head of risk management verticals. I could see that that he is managing. He was also a chairman of Risk Management Committee of Credit Guarantee Trust of Micro and Small Enterprises and a member Asset and Liability Management Committee, ALCO, of Micro Unit Development and Refinance Agency Limited. That is very popular. We all know that Mudra, part of our course also and of our syllabus also. He he's also in charge of, presently he's in charge of Lucknow region office of SIDBI, catering to the states of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Jharkhand. Oh, I see. And so now I request our honorable keynote speaker, our honorable chief guest, Shri Manish Sinha ji, an IAS, to present his keynote. Sir, the mic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Respected ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, I would like to extend my compliments to the Department of Applied Economics, University of Lucknow, for organizing this two-day international seminar on rural industrialization and effective channel for economic progress in Uttar Pradesh, which is a very relevant topic in the present-day economic scenario and also a major focus area for the government programs and initiatives. To start with, industrial development is an engine for economic growth. This we all know, and we've been studying all across our graduation seminar, the curriculum. Particularly for a developing country like India, yes, definitely, it's an engine for economic growth, and it helps in transforming the traditional economy into a modern economy and ushers in rapid and sustained growth in the country. Further, to a large extent, it addresses the problems of poverty, unemployment, low standard of living, and increases per capita income and GDP of the country. With majority of the population in rural agri-dominated India, rural industrialization is undoubtedly an effective channel for economic progress and growth. One of the major issues limiting rural development in India is the shrinking employment opportunities. Seasonal unemployment, partial unemployment, artisans who are at the margins because of obsolete technology is common in Indian villages. This has accelerated migration to urban areas in a big way and thereby adversely affecting the urban poverty scenario. The issue can be fairly addressed through a concerted effort towards rural industrialization. Currently, India is the 5th largest economy of the world, and the government has set a goal to become a $5 trillion economy by 2025. To achieve this, India has set a target of $1 trillion from agriculture, $3 trillion from services, and $1 trillion from manufacturing sector. The rural economy of India generates about half of the national income, and more than 2/3 of the employment is generated in rural areas. Besides, more than half of the value added in manufacturing sector is contributed by this segment. Most of the recent studies indicate that growth, income, and consumption patterns of rural India hold the key to boost demand, revive the economy, and sustain economic growth at the national level. In most developing countries like India, the rural labor force has been growing rapidly at a much higher pace vis-a-vis the employment opportunities. As the land available for expansion of agriculture becomes increasingly scarce, opportunities for non-farm employment must expand if rural poverty is to be kept under control. Given the fact that urban industries are unlikely to absorb the rising tide of rural migrants, there is an urgent need to slow down the process of urban spread. As such, it is imperative to divert manpower from agriculture sector to industry and service sectors. Rural industrialization can slow down the urban migration and thereby ease the problems of urbanization. Rural industries are non-farm activities which include economic activities outside agriculture and are characterized by features like ease of entry, locally available resources, reliance on indigenous sources, small-scale operation, adopted technology and skills, etc. These are usually small-scale and based in villages. It aims at enhancing the individual and household incomes, generate non-farm employment, as well as help in reduction of unemployment and promote balanced industrialization. The objectives of rural industrialization could be to assist in the growth and widespread dispersal of industries, to increase the levels of earnings of artisans, to sustain and create avenues of self-employment, to ensure regular supply of goods and services through use of local skills and resources, to develop entrepreneurship, and to preserve craftsmanship of the country. Some examples are cottage, tiny village, and small-scale manufacturing and processing industries and services of various kinds. Rural industries, however, have suffered from technological obsolescence, low productivity, inefficiency, inconsistent quality, dependence upon nature, lack of managerial and entrepreneurial skills, and access to timely and adequate credit, etc. India has a large spectrum of industrial activities surviving in the villages. Government of India, through various formal institutions and budget allocations, supports rural industrialization activities. These aim at supporting rural industrialization, creating enabling environment to arrest rural to urban migration and employment generation at the local level, enhance the individual and household incomes, etc. The popular schemes for MSMEs are aimed at entrepreneurial or skill development, technology upgradation, access to timely and adequate credit, cluster development program, marketing assistance, etc. Government promotes rural industrialization through various agencies and organizations. The Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, MSMEs, encompasses many such organizations like the Khadi and Village Industries Commission, the National Small Industries Corporation Limited, which is NSIC, the Choir Board, etc. Besides, there are organizations such as the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, that is NABARD, the Small Industries Development Bank of India, that is SIDBI, the commercial banks, and many other such organizations that also extend support towards rural industrialization. Further, infrastructural support is also provided through industrial estates, the district industry centers or DICs, and other specialized agencies, institutions, which provide technical assistance, testing facilities, etc. Moreover, government has taken various initiatives in improving rural infrastructure, that is better road connectivity, adequate power supply, social infrastructure like health and education, housing, mandis, that is agricultural markets, improved sanitation, drinking water, internet connectivity, availability of skilled workforce, improved credit facilities, which are all crucial for agriculture, agro industries, and poverty alleviation in the rural areas. Ministry of Food Processing Industries, Government of India is making all efforts to encourage investments across the value chain. Government aims to create modern infrastructure with efficient supply chain management from farm gate to the retail outlet and link farmers to consumers in the domestic and overseas market. The ministry is also supporting creation of mega food parks and agro-processing clusters, especially in rural areas, setting up integrated cold chain. Besides dairy, fruits and vegetables, poultry and meat processing and fisheries are other major sectors getting pushed from rural areas and villages. Further, a novel One District, One Product or the ODOP scheme is designed to promote value chain and infrastructure development for the specialized indigenous product of a district so that it gets state and national exposure. The ODOP product could be a perishable agri-produce, cereal-based product, or a food product widely produced in a district and their allied sectors. The micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSMEs, are regarded as the growth accelerators of the Indian economy, and more so for the rural economy, as more than half of the MSMEs operate in rural India. The MSMEs contribute about 30% to the national GDP, contribute about 40% to the overall exports, and employ nearly 110 million people across the country. To push the growth of MSME sector, the government has launched various supportive schemes from time to time, targeting ease of doing business, credit support, marketing facilities with infrastructure development. Rural entrepreneurship can create new economic opportunities in generating self-employment, spreading industrial and economic activities, and utilizing local labor as well as locally available raw materials. Strong rural infrastructure is essential in bridging gaps between urban and rural India. It allows better access to education, healthcare, and economic success. Skill development amongst the rural masses in various areas such as operation of machines, manufacturing of goods, and usage of technology, computers, etc., will lead to the economic growth and social development of the state and the country. Rural industrialization is significant given the shift taking place from rural to urban areas in search for wage employment. And Government of India assists the farmers to make agricultural farming viable and remunerative, while at the same time, it also aims to shift workforce from agriculture through promotion of rural industrialization. There are several institutions of the government that support rural industrialization in India, from raw material sourcing to marketing assistance. Another major development is the digital revolution, which has opened the doors for social and economic revolution in rural India, where users have faster and better access to business opportunities, employment, services, and new ideas. There is a need to harness the power of ICT as it offers tools for improving access to technologies, services, and finance for effective governance and monitoring. In addition, both government and private sector banks and financial institutions have implemented novel initiatives to bring banking to the doorsteps of rural India. Schemes such as the direct benefit transfer, the RuPay cards, Kisan credit cards, and the Jan Dhan scheme have improved the financial inclusion in rural areas. Improved banking services in rural areas have given a big boost to entrepreneurship and rural economies. Supported by the initiatives of the government, India's rural sector is increasingly becoming key economic driver for the national economy. However, a vast potential of opportunities that lies in the rural economy have not yet been explored to its full potential. A well-crafted rural development strategy with strong linkage between farm and non-farm sectors will certainly help in attaining inclusive and sustainable development. All this shall not only be beneficial for the holistic development of the rural economy, but will also help achieve the aim of Atmanirbhar Uttar Pradesh and Atmanirbhar Bharat. With these words, I wish this initiative of Department of Applied Economics, University of Lucknow, a grand success. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. And we were so enlightened to know more about the rural industrialization, and we could get a foresight into the how the banking sector has been very strongly supporting with all the various schemes that you told us, and also the government backing in the social infrastructure development, and the especially when you said the digitalization part, that is very important, and that is really being very interested upon in recently the union budget has also emphasized on it. So that was very well taken up. And so you are very rightly said that MSMEs do they are the very strong agent of self-employment, and I think they are the only one which really can spur up the growth and development or economic development of the state as well as the country. So that was very enlightening to the subject. And once again, from the department, on behalf of the department, I express my gratitude for your being here and addressing all of us.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Now proceeding with the with our inaugural session. Now coming to almost at the end of that. Before proceeding, let me tell you that our Honorable Vice Chancellor, who is also the patron of the entire seminar, and he is presiding this current session also for his presidential address. There are some emergent, you can understand, the commitments ho jate hain, so he has to adhere to that. And very soon, maybe in the valedictory session, he will be coming here and he will be blessing us. So we'll switch over to the last section of the inaugural session, that is the vote of thanks. But before that, let me tell you, this entire technical thing has been taken up by Dr. Nagendra Kumarji. And I also would like to express my gratitude to Sanjay Medhavi sir for his always being at the back of our endeavor, and to have it controlling everything and blessing us. Throughout the inaugural session, we have our two very strong rapporteurs with us, Shalini Jaiswal and Vishal Kesari. They are the rapporteurs. And with this, I move towards the formal vote of thanks. I'll request our Professor Department from Applied Economics, Professor Archana Singh ji, to please present the vote of thanks to all of us.
Thank you so much, ma'am. First of all,
thank you so much, ma'am. First of all, I would like to thank Government of Uttar Pradesh for sponsoring research projects under Center of Excellence scheme. I would like to thank Honorable Vice Chancellor for presiding over the inaugural session and also for his blessings. I would like to thank Honorable Higher Education Minister, Professor Dinesh Sharma ji, for his kind blessings. I would also like to thank Mr. Manish Sinha, General Manager SIDBI, Lucknow, for his kind presence and practical insight. I would like to thank Professor Jeetli Nettle for Multimedia University Kenya for connecting with us and sharing his intellectual views. I would like to thank Registrar, Dean Academics, and Dean Student Welfare. I would also like to thank our Dean, Professor Maheshwari ji, for his continuous encouragement. I would also like to thank all the dignitaries who are connected with us today. I would also like to thank our head of the department, Professor Rashna Mujju, who is also the convener of the seminar, under whose able guidance the seminar is being conducted. I would also like to thank Professor Madhurima Lal, Master of the Ceremony, for her continuous involvement and guidance since the inception of the seminar. She is also the editor of the souvenir, which was released earlier in the session. I would like to thank all the faculty members, students, and all the participants who are with us. Sincere thanks to all our research scholars and volunteers who have been working diligently for a long time for making this seminar a success. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the media persons for being here and covering this session. Thank you very much, everybody who is present here in the seminar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. So that comes up the end of the seminar. और अब आप सभी से विनम्र निवेदन है कि ये 2 दिवसीय जो अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सम्मेलन है, इसके सभी सत्रों में आप सभी अवश्य सम्मिलित होइए, इसको सुनिए, क्योंकि मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि इसमें एक से एक बढ़िया आपको पेपर्स मिलेंगे, जैसा कि मैंने देखा है। और ये जो विचारों का विचार विमर्श और मंथन होगा, इसके फलस्वरूप जो विचारों का नवनीत उत्पन्न होगा, उसके सोपान से अवश्य ही हम सभी जरूर ही शारीरिक रूप से, मानसिक रूप से इससे फलीभूत तो होंगे, और साथ ही साथ जितने भी निष्कर्ष निकलेंगे वो अवश्य नीति निर्माण में अवश्य ही हमारे देश के लिए, हमारे समाज के लिए, हमारे आध्यात्मिक पक्ष के लिए भी और हमारे अकादमिक पक्ष के लिए जरूर ही इसका बहुत इस्तेमाल हो पाएगा। आप सभी को पुनः एक बार धन्यवाद करते हुए कि आप इस उद्घाटन सत्र में आए, इसको सफल बनाया। अब हम लोग 3 बजे आपसे पुनः मुलाकात करेंगे हमारे पहले टेक्निकल सेशन में। इस और दूसरे फर्स्ट एंड सेकंड टेक्निकल सेशन जो साइड बाय साइड चलेंगे, जैसा भी अनुज जी ने बताया। और इसके पहले कि हम आपसे विदा लें, अगर किसी भी तरह की कोई भी क्वेरी हो तो हमारे ऑर्गेनाइजिंग सेक्रेटरी हमेशा हैं, हम सभी लोग यहाँ पर हैं, आप हमले कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं इंटरनेट के माध्यम से, ऑनलाइन के माध्यम से। आप सभी से दोबारा शुभेच्छा इस साथ के साथ कि पुनः भेंट होगी। हम आपसे विदा लेते हैं। धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।